everybody. Welcome to the Nest on Clubhouse. My name is Jim Chu in San Francisco, California, and I'm the CEO of Untapped Global. Our job is to connect international investors with entrepreneurs in frontier markets, emerging markets, including those in Africa and Asia and Latin America. We host weekly discussions like this one today on Clubhouse about entrepreneurship and investing. And once a month, we host a pitch session with startups and investors from around the world so we can really connect them face to face. You can find out more and follow us at Untapped Global on Twitter and LinkedIn. And you can also join our WhatsApp community by going to untapped-global.com and clicking on Engage. All right, well, today's topic is about cryptocurrencies in Africa. There's been quite a bit of traction and attention on cryptocurrencies around the world, but especially in Africa, and especially in markets such as Nigeria. But more recently, some regulatory changes in those markets have put some question marks around the future of cryptocurrencies. And so we're going to have a few guests on today to talk more generally about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, and more specifically about the future of cryptocurrency and blockchain in Africa. And I just want to note that we are also having another session on March 18th, where we will hear from two companies pitching business models around blockchain technologies in Africa. So again, if you would like to know more about those events or even attend, they're all free to attend and the community is free to join. Go to untappedglobal.com and you'll be able to get updates about future events. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Will Aspinall. Will, over to you. I'd love to hear about your background and how you got into cryptocurrencies and blockchain in general, and what you're working on now.
Hey, Jim, thanks so much for having me. Jim was gracious enough to invite me to talk last night, and I'm just so happy to be here. I'm the CEO of Flaring Solutions. Flaring Solutions is a company that's born out of my experience as general counsel for a publicly traded oil and gas company on the London Stock Exchange. So back in about 2014, 2015, I started going back and forth between San Francisco and London to stand up this company with an IPO on the London Stock Exchange. And about the same time, I was going to this sandwich shop on the beach in San Francisco, and they had a sign that said that they accepted Bitcoin for sandwiches. So that had piqued my intellectual curiosity, and I kind of set along on the course of standing up this company. We had our exploration and production for oil and gas in the United States, and our investors in Europe and the UK. And the first time I went to an oil and gas well, I saw this flaring, this routine flaring. When you're drilling for oil as a byproduct of the oil exploration, you get gas, and gas is hard to transport and to store. You really need physical pipeline infrastructure in order to get it done. And I'm looking at this flare coming off of this oil site, thinking about how wasteful it is environmentally and economically. And so I kind of had the idea to take some Bitcoin miners, set up a natural gas generator on site, and start mining for Bitcoin with this excess flare gas. So that's the idea behind Flaring Solutions. And so we've set out to accomplish exactly that, and to prevent waste in natural gas flaring by diverting the gas that would otherwise be wasted at the wellhead and turn it into energy to mine for Bitcoin.
So that's really interesting. I mean, two parts of that story it resonates. One is the fact that you're seeing merchants accept Bitcoin, and we see this quite often in parts of Africa. There are even Bitcoin machines and ATM machines in Africa. And so I think it dovetails very well with the digital economy and mobile money economy in Africa. And then the second part of it is this kind of off-grid decentralized power monetization or usage of excess power. I think that has some interesting potential for African markets. because there is a lot of decentralized energy production. So anyway, we don't want to go too much into that right now, but I'd love to hear more about Floating Solutions and how you're doing that. So welcome to the show. Thanks, Will, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We also have Adenike Sharif. Welcome, Adenike.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
And tell us a little bit about your background and how you're involved with cryptocurrencies or blockchain.
Okay, awesome. My name is Adenike Sharif, and I work as principal at the Future Africa Fund, which means it's my job to find amazing founders who are building important things that are solving Africa's most difficult problems. And, you know, one of the most critical things that we need on the continent now is access to global financial services. We're basically locked out of financial services that the rest of the world easily has access to. There's barely any intra-Africa trade. It's really difficult to transact globally for us who live here. I mean, right now, if I wanted to buy something off of Amazon, I can't, not because I don't have the money to, but because there's a $100 limit on my bank card as mandated by the central government. And that has really just led me into talking to a lot of nice founders building stuff in the cryptocurrency and blockchain world and seeing some of these problems.
Gotcha. Well, great. Thank you for joining us. And I'm curious to hear, Future Africa, how many companies doing either cryptocurrencies or blockchains has your fund invested in?
Two so far, and we're gearing up to do more this year.
Is Future Africa have a investment thesis specifically around blockchain or more generally?
Yes,
it is.
We
okay.
have a thesis around blockchain and cryptocurrency, and we found two companies that fit right into that so far, actively looking for more. And we have plans for a blockchain focused accelerator stroke incubator, but that's still in the really early days. You know, we're still designing how that's going to look.
Okay, well, great. Well, glad you could join us today and join us on stage. We'd love to hear more about this topic. And we also have Raj on stage as well. Raj, welcome to the Nest on Clubhouse. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your background? I think you're still on mute in case you're trying to speak. Okay, we're gonna skip Raj for a second. CJ, how about yourself? Welcome to the stage. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Very interesting room. So my name is CJ. I'm from Windhoek, Namibia. I grew up in Cape Town and we spent a lot of time in South Africa, but I specialize in launching products in the African market. So I founded Namibia's first food delivery app. So very much into e-commerce. And I'm very interested in what this room is going to hold, because I think e-commerce and cryptocurrency are going to be quite important in the future, because just about like as Adenike said, how payments work. So quite excited to see what people are cooking up and how people see e-commerce is going to be in Africa with regards to payments through crypto. I really think we need a solution that will help just people make payments so much easier. And obviously with the advances of blockchain, that would be great to be able to just have everything more transparent. So yeah, really here to learn, and any feedback I can give in terms of what we've been doing, obviously open for that, but really here to see how things can plug in and see if there's anyone doing something exciting in crypto, linking it to e-commerce and stuff like that.
Well, you mentioned e-commerce, so I'd love to hear from you first. What type of things have you seen in terms of cryptocurrencies linked with e-commerce? I know one of the biggest challenges, I think one of the biggest potentials of cryptocurrencies is cross-border remittance transactions and also cross-border e-commerce transactions. So what have you seen that look interesting? And this is an open question for all of you, Adenike, Will, Raj, Lindy, Sandra, etc.
To be honest, Jim, haven't seen too much, and I think it's something that needs to be fueled a little bit, because as well in my company, we're only a year old, a very young company, started just before the COVID lockdown happened, so like about January and last year. So we had a really good year of growth because Namibia is not used to e-commerce and stuff like that. So even speaking about crypto in Namibia is almost like not a taboo topic, but no one really recognizes it that much, right? But I can really see the benefits of having something so transparent where people will be able to transact with. We still have, from our platform, we still have about 45% of our orders, people are paying cash. So we had to develop a system that will allow us to collect money through deliveries, but we don't want to do that, you know? So to be honest, I haven't seen much. One of our partners is working on something, a company called Stack. So more about obviously cross-border crypto payments, something a little more instant. I know they're still developing it, but I haven't seen a real solution.
Okay, well, Adenike, I mean, CJ was asking about how do we fuel the growth? Now, how do we fuel the growth?
I think that the growth is really visible for everyone to see. I mean, if you look at the rate of adoption for crypto on the continent, the statistics say it all. You have everybody. And my favorite thing about crypto is how it's not just people who are who are in the middle class or have access to fancy education that are adopting it. You have traders in the market. You have the person selling motor car spare parts who needs to import goods from China, relying on cryptocurrencies to pay his suppliers. You have people who run agent networks accepting cryptocurrencies as a mode of payment in places like Kenya. And I think that it's just become so integral to how people trade and transact that even without exchanges, there are so many Telegram groups and WhatsApp groups where people sort of buy and sell crypto. So the growth has been amazing to see. What I want to see more of is products designed to fit specific use cases. And we're already seeing some of that. You know, remittance is backed by crypto. We have products like Send Cash in the market, helping people get access to buy gift cards so that they can purchase stuff from stores all over the world. We already have access to that with products like, Over and Get Card. You have people like Yellow Card and Paxful doing billions and millions in transaction value. So I think that the growth has been incredible to see so far. And we're sort of at an interesting point. We're only in the first layer and first inning of this, and it will be great to see what unfolds over the next couple of years.
Well, just to get very specific, you mentioned that you've invested in a couple of crypto/blockchain companies. Tell us a little bit about what you've invested in and perhaps why.
Okay, absolutely.
A bit of an opportunity for you guys to plug your investee companies.
Absolutely. So we're invested in a company called AfriX, and we're also invested in Bitcoins as well. Coincidentally, both of them are Y Combinator companies. I just actually realized that. And AfriX focuses more on the remittance and cross-border transaction side of things, facilitating payments into and outside Africa. Bitcoins, on the other hand, has an exchange, has a remittance product, and has a really interesting product that I absolutely love called Get Cards, through which people in Nigeria and other parts of Africa can buy gift cards and access services, goods, and products in other parts of the world. So if I need to buy something on Amazon right now, I can't do it because, like I said earlier, I have a limit on my card. But all I need to do is go to Get Cards, put in, with Naira, purchase a gift card for whatever amount I need, enter that the details for that gift card on Amazon, and I'm able to purchase whatever I want. And I do all this without directly interfacing with crypto, which makes it really, really excellent. It's such a smooth process. So those are the two companies we've invested in for now, but we're definitely looking at more and always open to receiving pitches for companies building in space.
Okay, and this is a bit of a leading question, but what have you not seen that you think we should see in the market in terms of innovative ideas for crypto and blockchain?
I think that more of what I would love to see is a specific design for crypto to interplay with agency banking. We have a lot of that already for fiat currency in major markets across the continent. But what I would love to see is an M-Pesa for crypto, you know, mobile money for crypto. What would that look like? It would be absolutely crazy.
And I'm curious for some of the others, Will, CJ, have you seen something like that in other markets?
Well, so I actually wanted to pose this question, something that I've been thinking about. I've been doing a little bit of research about use cases for crypto in Africa. And it seems like the narrative these days, at least in the United States and Europe, seems to be holding on to your cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin. You know, HODL has been, you know, the real narrative. You want to hold on to it, and you see the value increase underneath the asset that you're holding. Most of what I've been hearing and researching about in Africa is innovative ways to transact with cryptocurrencies. To actually use them, you know, in a peer-to-peer way, as opposed to what the narrative seems to be, you know, in the United States, which is to hold on to it. And I just wanted to see anybody who's familiar with this kind of narrative over there. Is there a lot of talk about holding on to it as a hedge against inflation, or is it more a use case to transact with cryptocurrencies?
CJ, Anika, any thoughts on that question?
No, nothing to add to that. I think he put it perfectly and summarized it really well. It's interesting to see, you know, like he said, in the US and other markets, people are holding on to it, but here we're seeing really, really interesting ways that it's being adopted and used in day-to-day life.
And I know, CJ, you have something to chat or to chime in on that as well. But, you know, from my perspective, it's interesting because I'll put a value judgment on, but I don't like crypto in the sense of, for many, it's a speculative money maker. You hold on to it and maybe appreciates the value. I see very little value generation there. And I think it actually takes away from the potential of cryptocurrencies as a better mode of cross-border currency transactions, of transacting digitally, of replacing or at least supplementing fiat money. And I don't think I've seen enough of that being utilized. And so I love to see more more value creative transactions in the Bitcoin / cryptocurrency space. But CJ, you're about to mention something. Please go ahead.
No, I completely agree with you, Jim. And I think the narrative is obviously that a lot of people are holding their coins and looking to use that as an investment tool. But what I think Adenike and especially like us here in Africa, we're really trying to find a solution that would just help make African life simpler. And there's so many things in Africa that are a bit challenging, but really don't have to be. And I think and that's why crypto is so exciting and the application of blockchain, because if it's done right, it's so many use cases that can make African life just a little bit simpler. And that was one of the reasons why we actually founded our company. As a logistics company, we just wanted to take one thing off someone's, like an African person's plate, you know. Obviously we do food delivery, but as we venture into last mile delivery, the idea is to have something that just works smoothly so that someone can just have a bit of a modern life, access to a bit of a modern life, and just make things simpler for them. So if we can really fix this issue with cross-border payments. And like, for example, in Nigeria, not being able to purchase on Amazon and stuff like that. That's stuff that that you would maybe overlook, but then when you're in the country, or in the continent, you can really see it play out as, and it's stuff that we miss and stuff that we value. So really, really hoping to see advances in this space, you know?
So is your company using blockchain and crypto as part of your business model?
We're doing research on it. As I said, one of our partners has a company that's developing. It's a company called Stack. It's developing almost instantaneous crypto payments across border as well. They're still working on it, so we're trying to see how we can integrate it into our systems. Because what we see a future of Africa, especially in Southern Africa, is a huge growth in e-commerce. We believe that very similar to China, the lower African market tend to trade. I think when things get bad, we tend to go home and either build something or create something to be able to sell it. So as WhatsApp gets very similar to WeChat and all the platforms, it gets quite easy to create an e-commerce platform. We really see that we think there's gonna be a growth in individuals having their own e-commerce platforms or medium to small e-commerce platforms. So we want to be the logistics partner for them. So the idea is to have a delivery dispatch software that connects to a website or the WhatsApp via API, and then we can have a driver just pick up the good and drop it off. But for that to work, there's really three things that need to work very well. It's payments, so and hopefully crypto plays a big role in that, and also like a delivery infrastructure. Those are things that really grow e-commerce space, right? So that's what we're looking at, hoping to see what unfolds in that space, but haven't really touched anything tangible yet in terms of crypto payments that can work that instance. So yeah, just hoping to see, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, I'm still waiting or praying for some kind of cross-border crypto-based or at least blockchain-based cross-border remittance service. How much money we pay to inefficient banks to move our money across borders is ridiculous. I also want to invite Raj. Raj is on stage as well. Raj Philipsingham, tell us a little bit about your background and your thoughts on this. I know you're a very active angel investor in a number of different companies, and I'd love to hear about what you've seen and what has seemed most interesting from an investment standpoint.
Hey, Jim, thanks a lot. Yeah, so my name is Raj Philipsingham. I'm a lawyer at a firm, international law firm called Dentons, but I'm also an active angel investor on the continent and emerging markets. So first of all, I need to sort of be open and say I'm a crypto virgin, right? So I've sort of looked very, very hard at lots of these things and kind of figured out that I don't understand enough about how it works. And I can see so let me start again. I can see the use case for crypto. So which is that, you know, if you can transact more efficiently with less friction, with less cost, I can see the value and the benefit. And I think someone posted the other day an article about some small shack or restaurant in Kenya that were using cryptocurrency for people to pay food. It's wonderful that if you can have something like that and you can get over issues like devaluation Naira, you know, payment outside Nigeria, payment outside Kenya, etc. So if you can have cryptocurrencies to do that, great. My challenge is that I don't understand enough, and I'm going to be honest about it, to work out who are going to be the winners and losers in this, and who are going to be the people who are really going to add value. Because today there are platforms that you can use to send and receive money. I mean, like, you know, here you have TransferWise, Revolut, etc. And there are platforms springing up in Africa to be able to send and transfer money. But I know for a fact that, for example, in Nigeria, with some of the challenges of getting US dollars and some of the challenges of sending money out, a lot of people have been reverting to cryptocurrency, which has resulted in the government clamping down on it, and that has caused problems. So there's this intersection between regulation and crypto as well, which I think causes a lot of uncertainty. So I feel like we're in this space where everyone's kind of feeling their way around. Everyone realizes that cryptocurrency could be a solution for lots of things, but no one's quite realized how it could work, where it could work, what regulations apply. So I'm still sitting watching from the sidelines, and so trying to work out, how this thing is going to play out before I sort of, dive in myself. I'm not sure whether that's helpful enough, but that's giving you my perspective on it.
Well, I think that's a common perspective. I mean, I think myself as an investor, very similarly, very careful. I certainly, I personally, as an example, have not dived into I call it the speculative bubble, the irrational exuberance of buying Bitcoin, holding it. I mean, I think if there were a function for it, I would love to do so, but I don't want to speculate. I'm an investor that prefers to build value, not just speculate on it. And so, I'd love to see more. Yes, please go ahead. I mean, and I'd love for you to tell me, Jim, you're totally wrong. There's loads of stuff to invest in, and let's set up a call next week, right? And by the way, sorry, one of my colleagues is online too, and you should definitely join that discussion. Go ahead, Amin.
And maybe, Kadanike, before I ask you a question for you, is kind of in the businesses you've invested, it'd be interesting to understand what sort of traction in terms of, can I say, real money, and why you invested in them, and what sort of traction they've had, and what problems they've had. I don't know whether any of them in Nigeria as a result of the recent government clampdown on crypto. I'm really interested in hear about that.
Absolutely. I think the first part that I wanted to speak to was this hesitance around adopting crypto and investing in crypto, which I can understand, but I want to paint a picture for you. Think about the 10 years ago, Bitcoin was something that was only probably talked about in underground gamer communities and, on Reddit and a few niche products, and someone even spent about 10 Bitcoin trying to buy a pizza. Now, fast forward 10 years, we see it fluctuates between $40,000 and $50,000. I mean, in the recent weeks, and we've seen Tesla add Bitcoin to its balance sheet. We've seen large banks on Wall Street begin to take Bitcoin more seriously, say what their stance on it is. And I think that it's safer to bet on a future that Bitcoin is a huge part of than to not do that, if what I'm saying makes sense. In the next 10 years, would you look back and say, oh, thank God I never invested in that crypto company? Or are you going
that sounds like FOMO to me, I don't, well, in any case, yes, FOMO is one reason to invest.
No, so this isn't FOMO. No, this isn't FOMO. This is, I'm looking into the future, and is there really a world where this isn't really a thing? And I don't see that when I look into the future. There is no way that in the next 10 years, crypto isn't an integral part of the financial system in our world. There's no way that it has become accepted as the norm. It would have some teething problems, as with everything new. Even electricity wasn't readily accepted. So it would have its teething problems, but I think that just being able to hold fast while all of that is going on is critically important. Now, to the second question about company value and transactions in terms of real money, the business model, one part of the business model is charging a percentage in fees of every transaction. And we're seeing these companies do hundreds of thousands in revenue. Obviously, for privacy reasons, I cannot specify how much, but there are proven solid business models and they're doing well revenue-wise. They're cash flow positive. So they're on paper, they're really great businesses to invest in. With regards to how the central bank's policy has affected these businesses.
Yes, thank you for preempting that question. We're moving to that right now. Yes, go ahead.
Not a lot. So because of the way crypto is intrinsically designed, it's actually designed to anticipate that. governments are not going to want to be a part of it, right? And so all these companies had to do was sort of switch back to the original design of things, which is peer-to-peer transactions. And that's what's going on right now. So they don't even have any Nigerian bank accounts. They don't have to deal with the Naira. They're just basically matching people who want to, for products where, for the exchange, they're matching people who want to sell with people who want to buy. And then for their other products, they're backed by stable coins, and there's a lot of technical ways around that, which, you know, doesn't interfere with the ban.
So I want to move to that second part of the question, you know, the fall of crypto. You know, maybe you can educate us a bit, or the folks on this call can educate us a bit on what have been some of the regulatory changes in the recent weeks, recent months in markets such as Nigeria and others, and what kind of impact that has had on not just in the investment environment, but people's willingness to adopt. And you know, while you're about to answer that, I just want to make a quick announcement to everybody else on this call who's listening. We are opening the stage up to those in the audience who have experience and thoughts about this topic and would like to talk about it. So please raise your hand and join us on stage if you'd like to add to the conversation. Go ahead, Aninike.
Right. So I think that regulatory pushback is absolutely to be expected. This is something that they don't fully understand yet, even though that I'll argue that it's not the responsibility of founders and regulatory governments. That's a job that still needs to be done, whether or not we think that it's our job to do or not. So I think that over the next few months and in the next few years, we're going to see them come up with rules and guidelines on how, you know, cryptocurrency transactions can be done. I think it's just fair. They're seeing billions of dollars in value being traded outside of the regular traditional finance structure. They're saying that they have no power over it, and it's just a knee-jerk reaction to ban it. But unfortunately, what they don't realize is that banning it actually then means that they have no oversight over how much is being moved, because crypto can actually work outside of traditional financial systems. Like I said earlier, that's the way it was designed to work, and they're going to then be opening the stage for illegal transactions and all of that, which is an argument that I never really bought, because everyone says, oh, people do illegal stuff with cryptocurrencies, but the same thing happens with fiat currency. It's a human problem, not a problem with the solution. So I think that we're going to, you know, one of the things that drives our thesis is that Africa is going to have the largest youth population in a few years. You know, have the world's youngest working population. And these are the people that are growing up and transacting in a world where cryptocurrency is normal to spend now. And so they're actually entrenched in the habits of it. So you're not going to see cryptocurrency grow as much elsewhere in the next 100 years, like it will in Africa, which is why we're funding the companies that are laying the foundation for that future right now.
Okay, thanks for that. CJ, your thoughts on this, because I know you're actually working in the market on the question of what's going on with regulation.
No, I actually just wanted to pop in to say that she's completely right. I just wanted to back what she was saying, because like I'm in my room here, like almost screaming, like, yes. Like, I agree, like she's preaching it, and me in the audience, because when you're on the ground, you see it in that type of way. So yeah, no, I just wanted to add on to what.
Gotcha, great. No, thank you for that. And we also have Matthias Abraham, who joined us on stage. And looking at your profile, you certainly know quite a bit about Bitcoin as an engineer and founder of a company that focuses on that. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your thoughts on the two questions.
Hi, Jim. Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, my name is Matthias, and I'm a founder of a company called Sun Team. We are in a private beta, and what we do is we help non-US citizens, especially focusing on Africa, to help them open a Forex or US bank account and have them a stablecoin custody. So I can tell you, a little bit about what you guys are discussing based on my experience. So our focus is right now like East Africa. So whenever you hear about cryptocurrencies in that area, I think a lot of people are mostly interested in bypassing capital control. So if you see like the Forex market, a lot of countries have like let's say they do a lot of importing but less of exports. So what happens is Forex becomes a big issue for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So they kind of find a way to bypass that by going through black market or using cryptocurrencies. So one of the reason maybe like countries in Africa deny or try to ban cryptocurrencies is because they don't have a control over whether you have stable coin or Bitcoin. So that kind of causes some issue in not having a control over what happens in the Forex market. So that is something that I have been seeing quite a lot. I don't think they can fully stop it or ban it, but hopefully new policymakers would come up and have a better solution instead of completely banning it. I can give you a good analogy for this could be when Facebook was starting and becoming a media 2010 2009. A lot of countries have tried to stop it, especially for political reasons, but at the end of the day they kind of figured out, okay, this is not something we can stop. So I feel like the same thing is going to come probably in the next year or two, where they adopt a new policy to not control, but at least have a regulation where people can do business using crypto and the stable coins. So that is my idea basically in this.
Gotcha. Great. No, thank you very much, Matthias. And where are you based?
So right now I'm based in San Francisco, but I'm originally from Ethiopia. Okay. Yeah. My company is based in the US. We're fully we follow all regulations here in the US. So yeah.
No, I mean, just as a slight aside, that is relevant to this conversation. The service of helping non-US citizens, non-US tax citizens start bank accounts in the US is a very valuable one, and especially the possibility of linking that to some type of cryptocurrency is very interesting. I'd love to have an offline conversation with you because we do a lot of cross-border money transfers, and love to get a better sense of all the various options out there. I'm sure you looked at all the really interesting options.
Yeah, sure. We'd love to reconnect. Thank you.
Very good. So quick note to everybody, this is still being live streamed and recorded, and we do welcome folks in the second half of the hour to those in the audience who like to contribute to the discussion and or even ask a question or make a comment on the topic, or for any of the people on the stage. Welcome that. And if you'd like to follow future conversations, please visit us at untapped-global.com and click engage, and you can sign up for our WhatsApp community and be fully informed for future events. Okay, well, so with all that happening, I guess I want to get a little bit to some very practical questions, at least very selfish practical questions. We're a global company that has activities in a number of different countries, Kenya, in countries such as Mali. The headache I have this week and last week was sending money to Mali. Our usual mode of transfers wouldn't allow me to send money to Mali. Are there services today that leverage blockchain and or crypto that allow me or help me to make those transfers more easily? Anyway.
Can I just ask a follow-on question to tack on to that?
Yes.
So same issue I'm having with someone who owes us some money in Nigeria, and they say they can't get US dollars. And this happened in the last time the Naira was devalued 4 or 5 years ago, same issue, right? And at that time, we looked at whether you could use BitPesa at the time. I can't remember. They've not changed the name. I can't remember what BitPesa is called. So my question goes, it's sort of follow-on question, but the other way around is how do you get money out of Nigeria using crypto or whatever it is into the to me or somewhere in the UK or US or wherever it is.
Yeah. And by the way, just as a quick note, yes, I want to get money out too. So it goes all directions. So don't worry.
I thought Jim, you were only sending money in. You were not getting money out.
So
I hope that's
think there.
Go ahead.
So yeah, there are multiple solutions. So for example, let's say if you live in not specific to Mali, but other parts of like Africa. So if you know Yellow Card, there is a company called Yellow Card where you can buy gift cards. And the gift card contains basically like Bitcoin, and you can buy that with your local currency and then transfer that Bitcoin to any country you want. That is one solution. The other one is there is also another company called Bitsika, Bitsika. I don't have any affiliation with any of them. Just want to mention this. So Bitsika also involves a stablecoin solution in their application, where I think most probably like Ghana and Nigeria, you can buy their stablecoin using your local currency and transfer that money to another part of Africa. So these two solutions are the one I'm very familiar with.
Okay, great. Well, certainly, and I think the B2C market or C2C transactions, consumer to consumer. But what about B2B transactions, which means, generally speaking, larger amounts of cash? There are, for example, various World Remit, various solutions to transfer fairly small size cash transfers, but almost all of them become problematic when you get to slightly larger. And when I say slightly larger, not even that large, $10,000 transaction, very difficult to get to find services that allow you to do that easily. Will these services allow me or my company to make a $100,000 transaction?
Sure. So I know of a very a recent case, close to 50 to 100 grand that was transferred through Yellow Card. The only thing is, they need to do KYC and they have to be compliant. So probably they would need more information about your business than you would if you're able to transfer, let's say 1K compared to 50 or 100K. I think they have to follow compliance and there'll be more procedure, but I think it is possible. The only issue I'm seeing when it comes to a large amount of transaction is sometimes you especially if you are a global company, or let's say if you're a US based company, I think just making sure that KYC and AML is done through the whole process is really important. So for example, I can talk about my case where when we are right now in private beta where people are transferring money, we're working under $1,000 mainly because of until we get used to the AML regulations and then the KYC. It's just because sometimes transactions can happen and can be reversed. I have a situation where somebody, let's say, purchased a Bitcoin, I'm sorry, a stable coin using one of the services here in the US. I forgot their name, but what happened is transaction reversals could happen. So you have to be really careful. And when it comes to with a very big amount, people need to consider that. Yeah, I think
Great. No, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Sure.
And we have George who just joined us as well. And George, you're with the company Stacks that I don't know if it's the same one that you just mentioned, Matthias, but love to hear your thoughts on this since you're directly working in this industry. And tell us a little bit about both yourself and your company. George?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me in. So at Stack, we kind of work extensively with stablecoins. So we've created a new system to send payments cross-border utilizing a blockchain sort of clearinghouse system. So that basically enables like instant cross. And we, a few years ago, were the first company to create double spend prevention mechanism of Bitcoin. So if people are familiar with this, the major problem is that it can't actually act as a currency. It can only really have value as a store of value, having a secondary layer. But we created an on-chain system to enable you to spend it with zero confirmation and just as cheaply as like a stable coin. So yeah, we've been active, and in the current like time with a lot of African companies facilitate. It's been a major forex in Africa. But yeah, I mean, I unfortunately didn't get the first, so forgive me if I'm sort of repeating things or whatever.
George, your connection is not the greatest either. You're coming in and out. So no, thank you for that. And I guess the very pertinent question is for me, let's say, just being very selfish here. Can I use Stacks to make cross-border transactions? Yes or no?
I think you just asked if you could use Stacks. So it's currently in a pilot form, so it's not available at the moment. But you can basically subscribe to join the pilot in a way.
And once it's out of pilot, can I use it to make cross-border transactions and even fairly large cross-border transactions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the things that we found is that the big underserved market is the sort of like emerging markets, remittance payments. So a lot of the time, fiat currencies have served very well developed to developing countries, where there's sort of a gap is emerging to develop remittances, and sort of like amongst emerging economies, there isn't all that much infrastructure with the fiat currency. Stable coins have been have created a new rail that's immensely more efficient than the current fiat system. The only issue that we encounter, which is what everyone encounters, is just sort of the legislation around this, and how it's communicated with governments, how governments are embracing it or not to a large extent. And I think that that's kind of a big issue in the space at the moment. Just sort of a lot of governments, if they know anything about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, they know enough to know that a lot of their power will be relinquished to that extent, but they don't know enough to know how immensely helpful and valuable it can be. So a lot of what we're doing as well is actually interfacing with government entities to sort of clear the way, going forward to actually sort of benefit from stablecoins.
Now, Jim, earlier you were talking about. Oh, go ahead, Raj.
Go ahead, Will.
Go on, Will.
Yeah. So Jim was talking about sending large payments cross-border, and I think that the Bitcoin network works really well for accomplishing that. The average transaction fees that you're going to look at, regardless of what the amount you're trying to send, is going to be somewhere between $10 and $20. And so that works really well for large transactions, maybe business-to-business transactions. I'm curious if anybody has experience with the smaller transactions, and whether or not the high transaction fees is preventing smaller payments cross-border.
Yeah, interesting. Well, like I said, being a crypto virgin, I'd love to start using some of those services and see if they actually meet our business needs and making cross-border transactions. And in fact, today I'd like to send some money to Mali. Anyone can help me with that?
And I'd like to get my money out of Nigeria, please. Same.
So yes, anybody who wants to raise their hand and tell us how to do that would be outstanding. Well, great. Well, thank you very much, George, for that. Raj, I think you had another comment.
Yeah, I had a question for George, and I'm sorry, this was sort of going back to the question earlier. I'm just wondering, no one's quite explained to me how you mitigate against regulatory risk in this. Okay, so today, if I start a business selling cakes, or if I start a business, money transfer business using normal things, right? So I know what the regulatory risk around, having a license is. The issue I have with crypto and Bitcoin, no one knows where the regulatory risks are. Right? So how do you mitigate against that? So when you're pitching to an investor saying, "Hey, this is the next best thing since sliced bread," how do I, as an investor, evaluate that regulatory risk? Can someone help me with that?
I think that's a really good point, especially for Africa, because I think with a lot of governments, they have sort of knee-jerk reactions to new technology that doesn't necessarily make sense from an external standpoint. I think with this particular, in a lot of, I feel like in a lot of countries at the moment, especially with Nigeria, there are a lots of indications that they will come around to cryptocurrencies, and I think it's safe to say that the majority of countries in the world are at least experimenting with putting bonds on the blockchain, and they realize that there are other applications beyond just Bitcoin, and embracing Bitcoin as a currency or whatever. Largely because, I mean, again, you can't necessarily use it as a currency in a lot of instances. But I think that we are starting to see, a movement here. I think one of the, it's a controversial project, but I think one of the best things that could have Facebook embracing, cryptocurrency a few years ago, because what that did is that sort of encouraged it forced a lot of countries to sort of really think about how do they start legislating for it, because it's an inevitability that crypto would happen. And I think that a lot of the African governments are coming around to that. They're starting to realize that regardless of whether they want it to happen or not, it is going to happen. They have to legislate for it. I think as an investor, obviously there's going to be multiple risks in getting into the space, but I think you need to look at the nature of and the particular area in which a company is operating. Stablecoin usage is categorically different to liquidity provider for an exchange. The vastly different things. If you're looking at a tokenization play, that is just adding a digital wrapper to private security. That's not changing. That's not speculative. It is literally just, it's sending an email compared to sending a paper letter. And so I think you need to look at, with regards to asking different areas. And what we've looked at as well in a venture we have is looking at the different areas in the different countries, how they're reacting to exchanges, crypto versus tokenization, and then how I mean, there's so many different factors involved here, but I mean, it's definitely something that to look involved, how that country is reacting to, getting involved in cryptocurrency from just a holding perspective as a cryptocurrency, as opposed to getting involved in it regarding blockchain and its application to particular industries and particular tech plays. So there's a few things to look at. I mean, I wouldn't, I'm not suggesting anyone. I'd love to know everyone else's opinion on this, but I think there's a few factors you want to think about, but it depends on entirely on what your sort of focus is as an investor.
Just to add on that, Raj, so if you're specifically talking about like Africa regarding like regulation or any sorts of like policy, I think at this moment I don't think you're protected. Like if you have a stable coin and let's say you lose it or something happen, I don't think like there is any protection for you at this time. Maybe let's say if you're in US jurisdiction and you're using like USDC, that could be like different story because it's backed by a real dollar with probably like Circle and Coinbase that has like some that follow like some regulatory some regulatory things in the US. But if you're like specifically talking about Africa, I don't think there's like any country that has already defined this assets into and then makes them like into a policy. So yeah, I think you have to take the risk by your own in this case.
Thank you for that, Matthias and George. Paul has joined us on stage. Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself and from Arizona, right?
Yep, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I actually am a YouTuber, and I also have a history of working in banking too. And the regulatory aspects, that like pricked my ears up, because that's the big part that a lot of institutional investors and money is going to have to overcome to move into the space. And the biggest thing is that they're looking at right now is compliance with the Financial Action Task Force, the Comptroller of the Currency, the SEC, FINRA, the Fed, IMF. So they need congruence and compliance amongst all these areas. And like you mentioned, USDC, there's Bitcoin and Ethereum are the main ones right now that have congruence and compliance amongst all those areas. But obviously, as we know, XRP, it didn't have it with the SEC, so it actually had a little bit of a bit of a situation right now with that. But that's just my 2 cents, is it needs congruence amongst those areas. And I'm sure in Africa, there's similar regulators that it needs to meet compliance with. So just getting congruence amongst all the regulators is so important.
And so I know you jumped into answer that regulatory question, but again, just very selfishly, I want to know, how do I move money to Nigeria? How do I get money out of Nigeria? How do I move money to Mali? Do you have an answer for that, Paul?
You would need to have a crypto wallet or a crypto address in that location, and yeah,
okay,
and you'd have to just
gotcha
send it via that. Yeah.
And so is there a company out there that is strategically putting that infrastructure in place, putting the crypto wallet endpoints in the various key target markets, so that somebody like me, Jim Chu, can very easily move fiat money from one country to another through blockchain and crypto? Is anyone working on that?
So,
okay.
A company called Circle is currently working on that technology. And they were actually backed by Goldman Sachs in the past couple of years. So they're currently working on putting that infrastructure in place.
That's Circle spelled with CIRCLE, right? So I'm looking
yes,
that up right away.
Yeah, and they work on stablecoins exclusively, or primarily. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, Paul.
No problem.
We also have Tayo joining us. Hi, Tayo. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. How's it going? Good to be here.
Very good, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, Paga, and also your thoughts on Bitcoin and blockchain in general.
Yeah, no, very much. So I run a company called Paga. We're a mobile payments company in Nigeria, very similar to Square, where we offer a solution for sellers, for consumers, have an app similar to the Cash App, and then also drive a network of agents, so mom and pop shops where people can get access to payments and financial services. So I'm a big believer in crypto. So Kat, thanks for calling me in here. And I think, really what we should be pushing for across the continent is the rise of crypto. And I think, central banks and regulators need to really get with the program around this. It's here to stay. So, for us in our company, we have to comply with the rules and regulations. So we have actually had to shut down all our partnerships with crypto companies because of the rules the central bank just came out with recently. But I think this is going to be short-lived. I think eventually they'll turn around on this policy, and we'll continue making the case for them to do so. Personally, I'm actively engaged with the policy making in the US around the digital dollar. So I'm really happy to see that the US is actually taking this seriously, and Congress and Senate are working on it. It's a bit, taking a bit longer, but certainly working on it. But we're seeing examples all over the world, right, where countries are starting to think about not just accepting Bitcoin and other types of crypto as mainstay, but thinking about how their currencies go digital, fully digital, right? Which I believe is going to happen. So yeah, happy to answer any questions around the topic that I might be helpful with. But I think we should continue. I love the fact that we're talking about this in the first place.
Well, also, I think you mentioned the fact that the new regulations, and I'm assuming the ones specifically in Nigeria and others, have limited your ability to interact with some of the cryptocurrency companies and vendors and merchants and so on. You think that it's going to end soon, but will that cause mayhem in the meantime? How do people get through that process?
Yeah, I don't know how soon is. I don't think it's going to be very urgent. Let's put it this way: there are two big policy changes that happened in Nigeria over the last few months. One was remittances have to come in US dollars, and the other is the crypto side. I think the US dollar policy will probably end first, as oil prices stabilize and things like that. So, but I do think the crypto one takes a lot more conversation with government, not just the central bank, but the federal government. But in the meantime, yes, it is causing issues, and I think it's leading to the rise in P2P, right? So people are going to hold more money in crypto. People are going to find
maybe that's a good thing.
So it's inadvertently, right? Similar to how what happened in October during the protests in Nigeria inadvertently led to more crypto and Bitcoin transactions and people being introduced to it. So inadvertently, I think they're actually helping the case for it.
And I don't know when you joined, but I think Nikkei made the same case that this is taking things or driving more peer-to-peer use. So that's an interesting perspective. Go ahead, Will.
I have a quick. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Lindsay. Yes.
Sorry, well, I was just had a quick question for Tayo, but from the African kind of context, I know everyone oftentimes talks about how Africa has the ability to leapfrog across verticals, like with kind of leapfrogged over desktop and went straight to mobile. And so there's a lot of talk about how the continent may adopt crypto before adopting credit cards and just being able to leapfrog directly to that kind of stage of monetary exchange. Do you think that we're headed in that direction, or do you think that the red tape and regulatory kind of aspect is going to prevent that from taking place?
It's a really good question, Lindy. I don't think we're heading in that specific direction, right? And I don't even think it's because of regulatory. I think what will happen is more time on things will be shortened, but we'll still go through the steps. So, the reality is that still today, even in a country like Nigeria, for as developed as our financial systems are, people, still don't have, are not prolific in using their debit card, right? You still get to ATMs and people will ask you, to help them, right? And give other people their PIN numbers, right? So we still have a journey to go in that progression. But I think the mid to upper end of the market is more open to cryptocurrency, whether it is as a store of value to grow wealth or as a way to do cross-border transactions, which is where I see a lot of the value. So a lot of the cryptocurrency companies in Nigeria, where they've been seeing the biggest numbers are actually companies trying to get currency out, right? Trying to transfer money and a B2B type of business. So I don't think we're going to see the in the short term, sort of what you described, right? Where it will leapfrog credit and things like that.
For peer-to-peer.
So
interesting.
So Tayo, and I'll come to you in a really quick second, but there's a relevant question for me, and I don't know how long you've been on, Tayo, but one of the questions I've asked multiple times on this hour is, I, as a person who runs an international global business, I'd love to use more efficient international remittances service. What should I be using? A very, very practical question right now. And Raj, similarly, wants to get money out of Nigeria. What should he use?
Well,
I
I
wanna get
mean,
money 2
Tayo,
miles,
Tayo,
he wants to get
I
money
hope
out
you're
of
going to give us an
Nigeria.
answer. Tayo, I hope you're going to give us an answer. Oh, right. It's a really tough question. I think so. Look, today companies like us are plugged into folks like TransferWise, World Remit, Tunes, and we terminate payments into Nigeria, right? So any of those companies can provide you instant termination into Nigeria, and that's why I've argued at some level that let's say they didn't have this USD policy of that you have to have a USD account in Nigeria to get that termination. Go back to the world where you can get a Naira account directly. I could send money from World Remit and within a minute it's in my bank account in Nigeria, wherever I'm sending it to. And they're coming through Paga, right? So the use case for me to use crypto in that case was not very strong, right? Now to get money out of Nigeria has been a little bit more challenging because you either have to buy US dollars, put in your domiciliary account, and then transfer out. And that was where there's a real opportunity for Bitcoin providers, right, who are willing to take Naira and do the exchange for you, right? And they're basically market making in Naira. So, and companies like Aza were doing that and still do that in other countries across Africa. And I think once the move changes, they'll be able to do that again in Nigeria. So hopefully that gives you, Raj, an answer. I'm happy to connect you to the Aza team, and they can work with you on this stuff.
Well, and myself as well. I mean, so this is a real, and I'm not joking here, this is just a theoretical, right? We rely quite heavily on TransferWise and other services.
Yeah.
And right now, it's not possible to move money to, for example, Central African francs. So
Yeah.
I'm scrambling to figure out better ways to move large sums of money to Central African francs, and I haven't found a really good way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just the same problem I had, Jim, when I was funding Samoa. I mean, it literally, it was just incredibly painful
Yes.
to transfer money to in that case Togo, as a Togolese company,
Yeah.
we get, and I guess maybe it's partly the fact that we're used to doing everything on your phone, and literally I had to physically call someone in Liverpool. And I spent 45 minutes explaining to them why I wanted to do this, what I wanted to do, read out the IBAN number, the SWIFT number, the account number over and over again. And then 45 minutes later, she said, yeah, I think I can do it. And then she did it, right? Out of a Barclays account. Now, that was just so painful that I think, do I really want to invest in Togo again? And I know I've got a Jim, and I'm going to give them some more money in about 4 months' time. So I'm not looking.
Don't blame me, by the way. Don't blame me.
I'm not blaming you.
Hey,
But
Tayo,
my point, my
go
point
ahead.
is that I think part of the problem is that we're just so used to doing transactions easily now that everything becomes hard, right? So maybe there's a tolerance issue as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying really hard. But anyway, let's go to Will. Will, you had something important to say, question or comment for Tayo.
Let me just ask this question. Now, Tayo, what prevents Jim from just sending some Bitcoin from a wallet in the United States to a wallet in Nigeria? What's the friction point in Nigeria for getting the Bitcoin exchanged from that wallet into the local currency?
Yeah, so okay, that's a good question. So let's actually make sure, for folks who may not have this background. So he can send the money to someone's wallet, someone in Nigeria, to their Bitcoin wallet. The challenge that they will have is how to take that Bitcoin and convert it to fiat currency,
Naira.
right? To Naira. And the reason why they'll have that challenge is that the crypto companies in Nigeria have been, so pretty much the banks and all financial institutions, including Paga, have been told not to deal with any of the cryptocurrency companies. So we've had to close down the accounts associated to those companies, which means that those companies are not able to help you with that exchange, which they were doing before. Right. So they would typically have exchanged it to Naira for you, have it land either in your wallet or in your bank account, and charge you a small fee for that.
So let me make sure I understand that. So it is currently illegal for somebody in Nigeria to exchange my Bitcoin into Naira.
Okay. So the central bank was saying no to that. It's not illegal, but they have asked all financial institutions to not deal with the crypto companies. So it's not illegal to use crypto in Nigeria, right? They had to come out with all those kind of clarifications, but essentially they made it near impossible, not entirely impossible, because you could, Will, for example, someone could say, okay, I'll give you cash for that crypto, transfer to me and I give you cash, right? They can't stop that, right? But what they've been able to effectively stop is something that scales with a company, right?
Yeah.
The company is able to.
I'm trying to move $100,000 to Bamako.
Exactly.
Finding somebody to give me $100,000 cash is quite difficult. Yeah, got it. Okay, well, very interesting. I'm still looking for that answer. Raj is too. Well, very good. So we're past our hour, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Before we pass it on to final 30 seconds thoughts from those on the panel, I'd like to just remind everybody that if you'd like to participate in these conversations in the future, get updates on future Clubhouse conversations with the Nest, please go to untapped-global.com, click engage, and you can follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter, as well as join our WhatsApp community. So with that, final thoughts. Let's start with Will, since you started with introductions. Will, and let me pose the final question, which is, where are we going to be in 10 years? No, forget, that's not 10 years, in 5 years with crypto in Africa?
I think that in 5 years with crypto all over the world, and Bitcoin in particular, I think that we're going to see a meteoric, parabolic rise in the price. I think that global demand is increasing as supply continually decreases. And I think that particularly in about 3 years' time, when we see the next halving, when the reward for mining a Bitcoin is cut in half again, we are going to see the same kind of rise that we saw from 2016 to 2017 in Bitcoin prices, and the same kind of rise that we've been seeing since about October to the present. So I would expect a continual trend upward in Bitcoin prices.
All right, so what you're saying is invest in Bitcoin now. Got it. Adenike, last thoughts.
What we're going to see in the next 5 years will be crypto powering a bunch of different, for lack of a better word, challenger financial companies. So we're going to see like neobanks, strictly based on crypto. I'm currently in the due diligence process for an amazing B2B fintech company that's based on block. And it will become normal for me to buy something in Nigeria, fingers crossed, hopefully, use my card to pay, just, like PayPal did, and have the payment be based on crypto and not just Naira.
Got it. So forget neobanks. It's all going to be about crypto banks. Got it. And I'll be able to use my mobile app to
The neobanks will be crypto banks.
Got it.
The neobanks.
And so I'll be able to pull out my phone and send Raj 500,000 in crypto in 2 clicks. Got it. Tayo, thoughts?
Yeah, along similar lines. I think it's going to be mainstream. The same way now that I just open my Cash App and I can buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, open my PayPal, do the same. It's going to be in Paga. It's going to be on the payment gateways. I'm going to be able to pay physical in store, online, and crypto. I don't think it's going to be the primary way people would do things, but it will be certainly available. And I'll be able to, I see Audrey just joined us as a listener. I'll be able to go to PiggyVest and, invest in my various, cryptocurrencies and manage all my things in one place. And it will be, for a lot of people, I think it would actually be more an asset, similar to investing in stocks. And I agree with Will, price is still going to go up. So invest in crypto, invest in Bitcoin.
Okay, and finally, Raj, last words.
So I'm still feel very much the sort of guy outside looking in and saying, what the hell is happening in there? It looks all very exciting, but I'm too scared to walk into the room. So I guess, the temptation to do something in this space is high, but no one has tempted me yet.
Okay, so wait and see. All right. Well, thank you all very much.
Raj,
yeah.
I could send you a really nice memo I just wrote for a company that we're looking at.
Okay, well, I think we're just connect with me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest, or Twitter. Just connect with me there.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Okay.
And I know Adunayo just joined in a little bit late, but I'd like to hear a quick intro from you as well, also on PiggyVest, and also famous or just last thoughts and words on this topic. Adunayo, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I joined super late, but so thank you for letting me speak. I'm co-founder and CEO of PiggyVest, and we largely do not operate in the crypto space. We're like fiat, 80% Naira-based company, and we essentially are powering young Nigerians to be able to invest very little amounts of money, as low as 25 cents daily, wow. Or in alternative investment opportunities as low as the equivalent of I think about $25 to get competitive rates. So we've been running for about 5 years, and we've watched the growth and adoption of crypto in Nigeria. The general thinking for me, and I suppose numbers support this, would be that adoption is rising. The number of people that use crypto in Nigeria is still far lower than you'd think, but adoption is rising. An interesting fun fact, and this lends credence, I suppose, to the topic of the room, is that 4 days before the CBN released that circular on crypto, we finally figured out a way for people on our platform to be able to buy crypto in bits, right? The entire ethos of our platform is accessibility and affordability, and a lot of the crypto minimums on exchanges are typically higher than a person who uses PiggyVest would want to come in with as a minimum. So we finally figured that out and launched it 4 days before, and then 4 days after, the CBN brings out that regulation and restricts everyone from basically trading it. I will say, though, that it was very interesting to kind of watch even the numbers rising on our platform as well, because in the 4 days that it was on the platform, we had traded, I think, about $500,000, and this was largely from people buying in bits and pieces. So for me, that indicates obviously that there's something there, and we should obviously not be, it shouldn't be treated as, how the governor puts it, it is dark, it is black, it is not white. I don't think that's the right way to kind of frame it, or because as much as the people say you can use it for illegal activities, so you can use the Naira, you can use dollar, you can use literally any currency. I think that and for us, considering the economy and where we are as a country, and just a lot of the infrastructural problems that we have around funds transfer and remittances, crypto represents a freedom and a kind of a way out for all of these problems that I think that we should be embracing, essentially.
You're here, and I'm going to ask you a question that I've been asking for the entire hour. How do I, as a global business, use crypto to transfer money from the United States to countries such as Mali, to Togo, to Nigeria, etc. And also be able to get money out of those countries when we need to, and to do so at fairly large scale. Let's say $100,000, $1 million at a time.
I don't know for Togo or for Mali. For Nigeria, I'd recommend Send Cash both ways. Send Cash will easily move money into Nigeria via crypto. And I think several other exchanges had that capability. I don't know if it's still functional in view of the restrictions, but it was a very nifty and cheap option to get money into the country. And as of today, they just announced that you can also move money from Nigeria specifically to the US, and they'll be adding more countries very soon. So, and I think that there are other exchanges like, I don't know if Bundle has this, that also have that capability as well. So it's coming. It's not perfect yet, but it's definitely coming.
Is there a limit to how? Is there a limit to how much can be sent and
on Send Cash? I don't know. I can confirm and just like drop a line for you on Twitter or LinkedIn. But as far as I know, they've been able to do. They can do higher than 50K as far as I know. But I don't know if there's an official limit.
So the excuse that people say, well, I can't get you money out of Nigeria because I can't get dollars. So I'm not going to accept that excuse anymore. I just say go to Send Cash.
Yeah, you should. Yes.
I like it. Well, thanks for answering that question. And love for you to answer that final question as well. Where are we going to be in 5 years in crypto in Africa?
I think I think that adoption, in terms of adoption, like crypto is here to stay. I don't think it's going to go anywhere as far as being a store of value is concerned, and as far as being like an easier remittance option. I do think that just like looking around Africa now and how the authorities are viewing it, we are like definitely in for an uphill task from the regulatory aspect. But from the adoption of it from retail and consumer perspective, there's definitely going to be a steady rise.
Okay, well, great. Thank you very much for joining us, even at the late part of it. And thank you, everybody, for being on the panel as well as being in the audience. And again, I hope to see you and hear you next week on the Nest on Clubhouse. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening, good day.
Thanks so much, guys.